Hitsugaya is ass. Again. 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 Again.
I beg your pardon? Man, shut your...
Ohayo gozaimasu. Lord Frieza, we are here. We are here today. Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's your boy, the King of Lightning, letting you know one simple fact. Among all the characters that Tate Kubo has created in all of Bleach, it is one Hitsugaya Toshiro that stands as Mr. Potential Man, that stands as the most overrated character in Bleach. By far, Hitsugaya Sucks. He's in the same camp as Rock Lee from Naruto. Beloved characters. You can argue, rightfully so. Hitsugaya has a pretty cool Bankai, Daiguren Hyorimaru. He has some moments here and there. And Hitsugaya as a character has some depth to him. That's all undeniable. But Hitsugaya is as overrated as they come because Kubo keeps on fisting this dude. No Diddy. Not that kind of fisting. No, stop, relax, easy. I mean Akainu on Ace. I mean Akuza on Rengoku. Everybody was kung fu fighting. I mean that kind of fisting. It is brutal what Kubo does to Hitsugaya because his character, again, there are some good things going for him. I'm not gonna deny that, but unbelievably overrated. The fan base for Hitsugaya is large, but they're not in charge. They ain't moving like the Kenpachi fanboys. They ain't moving like the Byakuya fanboys. They ain't moving like the Ichigo fanboys. They're not, because they can't. They don't have the horsepower. They don't have the physical strength. They don't have the mental acuity. They don't have it. It's not possible because Hitsugaya, at the end of the day,
he sucks.
What this is about and why he sucks ultimately is that Hitsugaya is a character that on paper delivers. He's a character you have expectations for in terms of his on the field performance as a captain of Soul Society. His expectations are high, extraordinarily high, and rightfully so. He's a genius, the prodigal son, his potential, blah, blah, blah. You expect more from Hitsugaya on the field than you do people like Renji, Rukia, other lieutenants, rightfully so, even other captains, because Hitsugaya is supposedly that dude. But in reality, expectations for Hitsugaya fall short. Ooh, they fall extremely short, and they have for the vast majority of the series. Hitsugaya has a net negative win-loss ratio. Negative! He's in the red. It's like he invested all of his money into a crypto pump and dump, and he's in the red. His banks, his landlord, loan sharks, they're all calling Hitsugaya's number because his numbers are looking horrific. And the problem with this is that Kubo, half the time, puts Hitsugaya in situations where it's just unfair. It's like, damn, okay, I can understand that. But even when it is fair, he pulls a Mihawk from One Piece and Marineford. I postpone. What? Not that he himself does it, but the way Kubo writes it. I didn't even realize this, but the way he writes it, it's always inconclusive. And he never has a pile of dubs to stand and rise to the heavens on. He never has that. It's not possible for Hitsugaya because he starts off the rip. You know what? Okay, let's break it down more scientifically, okay? The nitty and gritty, the PB&J, the actual meat and potatoes of why Hitsugaya sucks. Why Hitsugaya is overrated. And we do it in a win, loss, and draw ratio fashion. First of all, Hitsugaya, his first main showcase was in episode 60, chapter 132, I believe, right? Hitsugaya facing off against Gin Ichimaru. And this is actually a pretty cool bout, seeing two captains fight like this. Hitsugaya telling us, listen, you guys better run for miles. Otherwise, I can't promise your safety. Oh me, oh my, Hitsugaya, okay. But that ultimately ends unconclusively. Even though Ichimaru Gin had, we can see later on, he has a lot going for him in terms of Bankai and powers, and Hitsugaya has a lot going for him too. The fact of the matter is that it was an inconclusive bout, but it showed you a bout between two captain class fighters, one who is a prodigy, and it was a pretty cool bout at the very beginning of Hitsugaya's run, his legacy run in the series of Bleach. Okay, not a bad start at all. Until later on the arc where, here comes Mr. Slickback, glasses off.
Slickback. No.
Oh yeah, hair.
That's what I said. Slickback.
Boom. Now, mind you, right now, I can't really see you because my eyesight's pretty bad. But, okay, we know what I'm talking about. Sosuke Aizen. When Sosuke Aizen, shades on him at the time, all right? So he wasn't Mr. Slickback yet. But when he did what he did to Hitsugaya, it was swift, it was effective, it was on the heels of Hinamori getting obliterated by Aizen. Hitsugaya's rage, his fury, his power, the rage of a captain class fighter charging at another captain class fighter at that point in time. It was no contest. The prodigal son, the boy wonder, the kid with the Superman theme. No, ain't nothing super about Soul Society Hitsugaya from that point forward. Absolute annihilation. What is arguably the best arc in all of Bleach to this day. The Soul Society arc, he did not perform. He had a chance to against Gin, but it was cut short. It was a solid start. But later on, Aizen, we're captains, right? No. Get diff. So right now, the win-loss-draw ratio for Hitsugaya is 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Because we'll count that situation with Gin as a draw. Okay, 0, 1, 1. Boom. He does get, though, later on, in the Arrancar saga, with some of the best music in shonen history, baby. Yeah. He does get one of his few dubs in chapter 212, where he beats an Arrancar named Xiaolong Kufang. At that point in time, their limiters were suppressed, so he couldn't use his full powers until they got permission to utilize their full powers. And then bada bing, bada boom, Hitsugaya can use his full powers against Xiaolong Kufang. Mind you, this guy's a servant of Grimjap. He's far from the top of the Arrancar, make no mistake. But nonetheless, Hitsugaya needs to go all out against Xiaolong Kufang. He does beat Xiaolong Kufang, but the damage was still severe enough to where we have that gigantic geyser of blood for Hitsugaya after it's all said and done. So this now adds the first 1 on the win column for Hitsugaya. He has 1 win, he has 1 loss, and he has 1 draw at this point in time when he beats Xiaolong Kufang. Hitsugaya slowly living up to the prodigal status that he was given, the genius boy wonder who is on the same level as all these captains, potential boy finally starting to live up to that potential. And then in comes chapter 356 plus, when Hitsugaya fights against a real Arrancar. Not just any Arrancar, but Espada, Tear Haribel, one of the baddest women in Bleach history. Kubo, for that, French kiss all the way through, by the way, okay? I will commit, a lot of dudes commit to Tear Haribel. To this day, it is what it is, as respected. And Hitsugaya was pulling with that respect. It was actually a pretty good fight between Haribel and Hitsugaya. And you could argue Hitsugaya was on the upper hand of that fight and is able to encase Haribel in a gigantic mountain of frozen ice petals. And it was a really cool thing to see. And you could argue Hitsugaya was about to get the dub. Argue. At that point in time, and then it came the interference, where we find out all of the top 3 Espada are actually fine. Aizen, Gin, Tosen, Vanda Weisse, and the gigantic weird hollow in the background that we saw in the previous saga, the Society saga, they just come in there and they just yell, they signify, hey, it's time to actually go all out, it's time to pop off, Arrancar, Espada, do your thing. And we see Haribel come out of that frozen mountain of ice petals, and she's fine. If he wanted to argue at that point in time that he was on the verge of getting the dub against one of the, Espada, top 3, fair. At the same time, though, she's fine. She looks like she's good to go. She's, yeah, I mean, I just want to cool down a little bit. My water was a little bit too hot. Yeah. A little bit too spicy, a little bit too bubbly for you, right? It was boiling, it was scalding. So I appreciate the cool down. She was fine. She was good to go. And they continue to fight even afterwards. And there are no signs of Hitsugaya being able to beat her at that point in time. Hitsugaya has another draw on the card. If he could have actually beaten her prior to, I think he would have, but I don't think he could. And just seeing her condition after the fact, where she's relatively fine, I can't tell you, yeah, Hitsugaya for sure. No, I can't do it. It's not possible. So now the record shows 1 win, 1 loss, 2 draws. And he gains no other W's later on in the arc. Why? I showed it to you at the very beginning of the video.
Man, shut your...
Aizen versus the whole posse in the fake Karakura town. And it was way more brutal for Hitsugaya than it was Shoraku, than it was Soifang, anybody else there. Because he stabbed Hinamori. Ichigo, what the hell are you guys doing? Toshiro? Nande? Oh, come on. Stop. I want to give him 2 L's just because of that. Because in the Soul Society arc, Hinamori, oh my god. In this arc, you, sir, were the one that damaged Hinamori. You stabbed her, bro. You stabbed her right through her whole body. If I was Hinamori, I would be on edge, like a cat with his hair up. He's bad juju for you. The potential man's false potential is seeping into your very soul and giving you bad luck. Stay away, like 40 feet minimum. My God. The fact that he stabbed Hinamori and in a rage dives Aizen. Openings everywhere. Slice. Limbs gone. Like... But again, Kubo puts him in these situations where it's like, damn, son, damn. It's one thing to say, oh, well, you know, he has X, Y, and Z and can compete with so on. Fair enough. But how does it actualize? How does it play out in the story? Not favorably, bro. There's another character in JJK, I won't say, who has the same issue, but I digress. This is, once again, another L for Hitsugaya Toshiro. So now the board stands at 1 win, 2 L's. It should be 3 because you stabbed Hinamori. So I'm gonna put 2.5 L's on that and then 2 draws. That's how it's going right now. That is the record for Hitsugaya for most of the Bleach series. But there is hope. There is a final arc.
Wait.
I forgot about Loopy. Yeah, in episode like 140, you have Loopy, the new Six Espada, versus Toshiro and the team. But even when he's encased in the, the Seinen Hyodo, those ice columns that converge, Loopy's fine. It's the same situation that we see with Haribel. Loopy encased in ice, actually, I'm good. Haribel encased in ice, actually, I'm good. So that's another draw. Add another draw to the table. 1 win, 2.5 losses, 3 draws. There's a lot of draws. The draws are piling up, and I'm not treating homeboy like he's Cape Verde in the World Cup. No. He ain't getting that respect there. The draws are piling up for a man who is potential man who should be superseding these draws. The more draws, the worse it is. They're not as bad as the L's, but for a man of his genius and status and potential, the draws ain't doing him a service. So now we bunny hop over to the final arc of Bleach, the 1,000-year blood war led by Yuha Bach, baby, my boy, baby. And in this arc,
Wait.
Hold on, time out, wait. Circle back, hold on. Wait, is there? No! Oh, full break. Wait. That counts? Does that count? I don't want to count full break arc at all. I just kind of like, who do you fight again?
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant.
Oh, freaking what? Yukio? Oh, he does subdue him in chapter 460. Whatever. Okay, fine. He gets a dub against a freaking Fullbring character. I'm gonna keep it a stack. Like, this guy ain't being Chao on Kufang. Like, I don't even know what. It's a Fullbring, man. You know what? Let me be a spoil sport. 2 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws. I digress. I want to move on to the final arc where he has the most fights in the story. And we have number 1. It starts off pretty intense with Basby. We gotta be fair here. Hitsugaya was clearly nerfed, but at the same time, he did have Matsumoto at his side to try and take on Basby. I ain't gonna lie to you, it was actually some pretty cool stuff with having Hinako inside the ice to make pockets of vacuum to snuff out the fire attacks of Basby. That was good. I like that. Hitsugaya showcasing his potential. Once again, his potential. But unfortunately for Hitsugaya and Matsumoto, Basby was just too much, and they do take the L there. They do. In slides in Chengdu. Correction, Kangdu. I promise I'm not racist. The Bruce Lee of Bleach. On paper now, you have 2 wins, you have 3 losses, and you have 3 draws. Again, he was going to that fight, even though he had Matsumoto, he was nerfed. But Kubo is the one that writes this, right? It's not my fault for calling out the record as it is. If you're an injured player and you're going onto the court, yeah, you're injured, but you're still on the field. You're still on the court. You're playing the game. You playing the game determines if your team wins or loses. And in this case here, Soul Society is Hitsugaya's team. He's still on the field. You may say it's unfair, but it is the record. It is the record. So Hitsugaya has another loss against Basby. In the second invasion, chapter 554, Chengdu, again, I promise you I'm not racist, but for the remainder of the video, I do call him Chengdu instead of Kangdu. And Hitsugaya scrap. And Chengdu, I would say, takes the L. Even though he winds up being okay, because they start to activate their Volstand. How do you say it? The Volstandi. The Volstanding thing, okay? I don't know how to say it. I'm not. Ich spreche Deutsch nicht gut, okay? I don't speak German like that. But they activate the Volstandig, and he's actually fine. However, ultimately, Chengdu does like submit to Hashwald, and he does block the attack at first, his execution, but later on, yeah, Hashwald's like, yo, like the scale, dude, like, get crushed. So ultimately speaking, the idea is that Chengdu, he did take the L, even though he survived because of the Volstag, or the Volstag, I guess, right? He did survive, he was ultimately okay, but regardless of that fact, Hashwald takes out Chengdu, and you can say that Hitsugaya just won that fight. I mean, once he got his Bankai back, it was get crushed. So Chengdu, I don't know why, but like most of Hitsugaya's dubs are against Chinese dudes. It's first Xiaolong Kufang, Chinese theme for sure. Then it's Chengdu, the Bruce Lee of Bleach. It kind of feels like Zoro and black people, you know? Like a low-key thing, like, most of his dubs are against black guys. Why? Most of Hitsugaya's dubs are against Chinese dudes. Why? Makes you think. Either way. Okay, we have another win for Hitsugaya. That's 3 wins, that's 3 L's, and that's 3 draws. However, just like with Xiaolong Kufang against Chengdu, Hitsugaya is so battle damaged, he wins the fight, but he winds up collapsing around chapter 554. And we literally do not see Hitsugaya or 40 chapters up until chapter 591. Woo! When he is zombified by Giselle. Giselle was able to sneak up Hitsugaya, who's already like massively wounded, on death's door, and he winds up zombifying Hitsugaya. And Hitsugaya, when he's a zombie, I ain't gonna lie to you, he was kind of cooking. No cap, he was kind of cooking. He was moving ruthless, and he was moving effectively. It was kind of impressive for those first few chapters after chapter 591. However, Mairi handles business. Hitsugaya's doing Bankai and everything, but Mairi was able to administer a drug to where Hitsugaya kept on looping over and over and over again until ultimately collapse, and then Asuji Jizo, whatever it's called, boom, now you're all balanced. It's time to undo the whole entire zombification. Hitsugaya, guess what that is? Oh, wait, but King of Lightning, you can't listen. If I included the freaking Yukio Hans fight, a full bring fight? A full bring fight. I included that into that's canon, fair enough. So is this. 3 wins, 4 L's. That is is the win-loss ratio for Hitsugaya at this point in time in the final saga of the series. 3 wins, 4 losses. Zombie Hitsugaya, he's going all out, Bankai and everything, and blah, 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 but he still gets crushed by Mayuri. Mayuri, he ain't no joke. He administered the drug, and when that happens, Mayuri's drugs, woo-hoo-hoo, the finest product on the market. Walter White activity there, make no mistake. It is the most sound formula to make the purest product. That's how Mayuri's moving. So I don't blame Hitsugaya taking that hit. I really don't. Hitsugaya, personally speaking, I think in a general sense is not stronger than Mayuri. In a general sense, I think that he is weaker because Mayuri has these tricks, has these schemes, these plots, these plans, these machinations, at least up until that point in time, because there is one last situation. The fact of the matter, though, is that I'm counting that fight, which is 4 losses. And again, he's piling up draws like nobody's business. And unfortunately, that even applies to the very end of the series of Bleach, a fight that's coming up real soon in the Bleach anime, which is the battle against Gerard Valkyrie, around chapter 671 in the Bleach manga. Now, it is very likely that Kubo will change things up. Possible, yes, I won't deny that. But this fight, I have my doubts. The reason being is because Gerard Valkyrie versus Hitsugaya Company, unless his powers change fundamentally, which I don't think they will, for the anime, I think that no matter what, it was always going to be, in Hitsugaya Company's case, a draw. A draw. And it's a shame, a real big shame, because Hitsugaya, for the first time, he lets all the petals disintegrate, and we get to see what he actually can do with all his petals gone. His body ages up, and he's on a whole new strata of power, right? So now we know what happens when his petals are all gone, and he gets actual power up, and it's a big one. So Hitsugaya, in terms of a fighter, is now substantially better. At this point in time, you can say he's stronger than Mayuri. Fair enough, fine. The problem, though, is that once again, for the win-loss-draw ratio, you have Kubo have him fight against Gerard Valkyrie. This is the last fight for Hitsugaya in Bleach. It's the last one. It's the last one. Right, Kubo? We're going to have Hitsugaya, the potential boy, a genius beyond belief. Right? Right? Right?
Please.
Woo! My goodness. So this fight with Gerard Valkyrie, it was a group fight against him, sure. Like in the same case against Luffy, a group fight against Luffy. But Hitsugaya, even though he powered up to his strongest state in the series by far, even though he's popping off like nobody's business, Hitsugaya, Byakuya and company can only get the draw. And ultimately, Gerard Valkyrie is taken out by what? The Auschweiler. C'est la vie. 3 wins, 4 losses, 4 draws. That is Hitsugaya's record. He should have way less draws, but Kubo writes it in a way to where Hitsugaya is just cooked, and it just is what it is. It just is what it is. And unfortunately for Hitsugaya, he has showcased phenomenal power, and he's outstanding, but Bleach ends. Bleach ends at that point in time. Bleach is over. The next version of Bleach, the Hell Arc stuff in the future, that's for the future. Within Bleach itself, that's it for Hitsugaya. So Hitsugaya is overrated as hell. Hitsugaya has value, but the results are not as good as they should be. He's underperforming to a large extent. With only 3 wins, 4 losses, and 4 draws, it's a very poor record. So Hitsugaya sucks. He is overrated. He is the potential boy of Bleach for a damn good reason, because the record shows. But that's what I think of Hitsugaya. If you enjoy your boy's video content, let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, members get access to the video first. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, please do so by clicking on that button. Join the notification squad. And I'm going to catch you guys and gals on the flip side.